Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We're very excited to have Katie Keith from Currencies Direct joining us for a webinar this morning. And yeah, over to you, Katie.
Thank you so much, Melissa, and good morning and good afternoon to everybody who's joining in live today. I know it's the summertime, so thank you so much for making the effort to drop in and learn a bit more about foreign currency. And for those chiming in to the recording, great to have you. Just as a way of introduction, my name's Katie Keith and I manage the enterprise partnerships at Currencies Direct. I've got about 25 years working in financial services, the last 5 years being in foreign exchange. So hopefully based on my experience working in the industry and also my experience being an expat who's moved across the other side of the world from Australia to the UK and having to buy property in different locations, I'm able to share some of my own personal insights today on how I managed my own foreign exchange. So our agenda today is very straightforward. We've got an overview on who we are as an organisation. I'm going to talk a bit more about foreign exchange, what it is, what some of the risk, my top tips, the nuances. I'll also talk through a little bit about what to expect when going through setting up foreign exchange, becoming a client. And then we're hopefully going to open up with lots of questions from you. And if you've got questions and you're not too sure, I'm happy for you to reach out to me after the webinar. So let's get started. So Currencies Direct, I'm so proud to be working for a company like Currencies Direct, one of the first payments providers in Europe in 1996. And I feel we're more than just a foreign exchange company. We become a partner and a collaborator in your business and in your life to support you with managing your currency risk and exposure. We're doing around 10 billion a year in currency, so we do know a thing or two when it comes to managing your currency risk. And we've got over 500,000 clients who trust us with their money. And the way we do that is very simple. We are FCA regulated. We have a very strong global banking network, which allows us to convert many currency pairs across the world. We are experts with 25 years of trading experience as an organisation, but I can say the majority of my team in London, Australia, South Africa, America, all have decades of financial services expertise. So you really are in the right hands when it comes to seeking out guidance and support in building an FX strategy or just doing a one-off transaction. We have an omni-channel service as well. So we've got great technology. So if you're a bit of a DIY person like me, you like to use the online platform, you've got everything set up, you can really run with that. But from time to time, you might need to pick up the phone and speak to your account manager. We also have that too. We really aim not to be a faceless organisation. We want to be here to support you and encourage you to do the right things when it comes to managing your foreign exchange, which is a big part of some of our finance needs. We also have the integration with Xero, which is an exciting new release that we had earlier this year. So working with Sale International is great because they're supporting you with your end-to-end financial needs. And when you do your foreign currency transactions, it's live bank feeds straight to your reconciliation platform, which is just going to make everybody's life easier. So we've got a really robust way of looking after our clients, and we're a very trusted brand in the market with a global reach. So that's enough about us. I wanted to talk a little bit about foreign exchange. So I'm going to try and keep this as interesting as possible because, you know, it's not the most sexy thing to be talking about, but it's one of the most vital things to think about. And I'm going to share some of my own experience being an expat who's relocated to the other side of the world and had to go through the process of buying property in a new location and some of the other things from a business perspective that might be able to help you to manage your foreign exchange more effectively and achieve what I call FX harmony, if there is such a thing, given it's such a volatile industry. So right now we're going to talk a little bit about what foreign exchange is, just for the new beginners. For those who know more about it, hopefully there's some new insights there to help you as well. I'm going to touch on the importance of forward planning. I think this is such a critical step in the process. And then we're going to delve more into the strategies around managing your foreign exchange risk and some of the solutions that are available to you. And then also, I understand Sale International, a majority of you might be based in South Africa. So I just added in a little bit of something around what to be mindful of if you are located in South Africa as well, because there are a few things to be mindful of. And then just to close up on our FX overview, we're going to go through some of the nuances of FX and some of my top tips to recap on that. So let's dive in and talk a little bit about what foreign exchange is. Well, in its simplest form, foreign exchange allows you to exchange one currency to the other. And for people like you and me, it allows us to travel, to buy goods and services. It allows us to relocate around the other side of the world if we wish to, buy properties, and much more. If you're a business owner, foreign exchange goes a little bit deeper than that. It allows you to manage your buy and sell currency risk, optimizing your profits. A lot of clients come to us to help us with pricing their consumer goods, because by the time they sell it in a new market around the world, at the time that they've made it, the currency can actually impact their bottom line. So foreign exchange does play a key role in our day-to-day lives, in particular if you have a need that requires one currency exchange to the other. So that's in its simplest form. Currency markets are open 24/7, operating in global financial centers around the world, and where currency pairs are traded based on supply and demand dynamics. And just to go into exchange rates and how that works, I've got an example here. If the rate is 20 ZAR to 1 GBP, £1, it means you need 20 rands to buy £1. And these rates exchange constantly. So they're fluctuating constantly, sorry. So being aware of what the fluctuations look like, what trends are happening is really key. So that 20s could fluctuate from 5% at the beginning of the day to 20% at the end of the day. So timing is really key around managing exchange rates as well. So it's very volatile. And also, just to give you an example, if you're buying a property, for example, in the UK and you're based in South Africa and you need to convert your rands into pounds, the fluctuations of those exchange rates can really impact your affordability on the other end. So understanding exchange rates, understanding how the foreign exchange market works is really key. And I know this is just a quick 101 overview, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions after the call if you'd like a bit more information. So moving along, I'd like to talk a little bit about forward planning, and I'd like to share a story of my own journey. 8 years ago, I relocated from Sydney, Australia to London. And the one thing I didn't do a lot of was the forward planning, because I had so many things to think about. You know, I had a shipping container full of all my goods. I was trying to rent my property out. I was trying to find a job actually at the same time. And there was just so many moving parts. And because I was working in banking at the time and I did come to work for an Australian bank in London, I was just using the bank for all of my day-to-day transactions. The one thing that got me stuck was it took me 3 months to open a bank account in London, and no one told me about that. So I was using my Australian account, my Australian cards. I was paying 3.5% in exchange margins and fees. So it really cost me a lot of money. So the first 6 months of my journey, when I think back in hindsight, I wish I had done a lot more forward planning. So when it came time for me to buy property here, and I had to bring some of my assets over to satisfy that, I was doing some forward planning. So I sought some expert advice, which is one of my top tips here. And I started to think about what my timings were. So I knew that I needed to buy my property within a 6-month time period. It was lockdown as well. So there was a lot of other stressful factors I needed to consider. I'd never bought property in the UK. There was a lot of things I was trying to educate myself on. So I didn't want to do it alone. So I tapped into the team at Currencies Direct and I said, right, what do I need to know? So the first thing they asked me was, what is your timing going to look like? And how much money do you have in Australia? Now, this is going down to setting a budget in your local currency. So I knew exactly how much I had. That wasn't going to change, but I knew exactly what I needed on this end. So that exchange rate from AUD to GBP was so critical in helping me meet my goal. So I needed to monitor the market trends as well. So I signed up for the daily email. I got the insights. I made sure I was on top of it. I made sure I was speaking to the experts, and I started to set out a strategy. And I'm going to talk a little bit about those strategies now. So there was a couple of options the team gave me in terms of how do I manage the risk around the forward planning part. Now, I could have just brought my Australian funds over and held them on account and said, okay, let's just hope for the best that the exchange rate works in my favour. Now, that's what a lot of people actually do. So I'm happy to have my Australian dollars sitting in my Aussie wallet at Currencies Direct. But some of the things they helped me with to understanding how I could reach my GBP goal was setting up a rate alert. And this is one thing that I used, which helped me. It helped me to monitor the currency market to let me know when to buy my currency. So effectively, when I looked at the trends of previous fluctuations between the currency pair of AUD and GBP, we could see what the peaks were over the last sort of 3 months, 6 months, 2 years. So when I looked at that with the experts, they said these are the top peaks and this is what you actually need to achieve your currency goal. So we set a rate alert up. Now, we didn't just set one up, we set three up. We set one at the highest peak and a couple of others where I'd be happy to exchange. Now, as soon as those rate alerts came into my inbox, we picked up the phone, we had a conversation, and I was able to buy some of my currency. Now, you can go a little bit further than this. That worked for me, but a lot of other clients we speak to may have other circumstances because each of us is unique in whether we're investing in goods or services as a business, whether we're buying property, whether we're moving across to another country, or just sending money back home, repatriating funds. So if I was a client that saw a rate that I really wanted to buy, it was going to help me with my goal to reach my currency goal on the other side, but I didn't quite have the money yet, I could look at hedging with a forward contract. So I could book in the rate, leave a deposit, and pay for my exchange later. That's a very popular tool that you can use. There are costs and risks associated with that tool as well, but it may be something that can help you reach your goals sooner and manage some of the fluctuation and volatility risk that we so often find in exchanging our currency. So hedging might be attractive to you. And if you want to learn more about hedging, we've got experts in our team that can delve a little bit deeper and look at your personal circumstances because it's not a one size fits all really. The other thing is using a limit order. So what I did is I set up a rate alert. Now, if I was on holidays, just enjoying a couple of weeks away with my family, and I didn't want to worry about my exchange rate reaching its goal without having to buy it, I could actually lock in a contract with my provider and make sure once it reaches that limit, it buys a certain amount of money for me. So limit orders can also stop the risk of timing and missing out on some of these exchange rates. So we've got lots of tools out there in the market that can help you, financial instruments that you won't often find on the high street and you won't often find the expertise to work through them. So forward contracts, you've got set up rate alerts, which are really helpful. I love these. Using limit orders to purchase so you don't miss out, and then holding your funds on account to save on timing. Hopefully that's helpful in terms of managing your currency risk. Some considerations for those who are joining us who are in South Africa. So if you're based in South Africa, a couple of things to be aware of. And actually, if you're based in different geographical locations around the world, these tips could be very handy for you as well. So we need to be aware of regulatory requirements on the ground. So in South Africa, there are exchange control regulations which govern how much money you can send abroad. Now, the good thing is we've got a team based in South Africa that can speak to you personally to take you through what those implications might be. They can talk about how much you need to send, what some of the roadblocks might be. So don't worry, we have expertise on the ground that can help you with that. But if you're in other locations around the world, like China or India, you might also find that there are regulatory requirements that stop you from sending money abroad. We're always happy to have a conversation about what that might mean for you. And also, if you are looking to exchange currencies or purchase goods and services around the world, including property and investments, these are some of the things also to think about. Factor in all your costs. There are lots of hidden fees and charges, in particular if you're using the high street. They'll charge you for every transaction you do, and then they'll build in a margin on top of where they bought their currency. So we do the same thing. We actually build in a margin on top of where we buy our currency on the interbank rate, and then we pass that on. But we're a lot more competitive. And you'll find a lot of the foreign exchange brokerages can be competitive because we specialize in foreign exchange. That's all we do besides the payments. So you need to do some research around this, factor in your costs, be aware of the fees, do some comparisons, and just get all of your ducks in a row before you make those decisions. We've also got to be really reliant on economic indicators which impact the volatility on foreign exchange. So have a look at the UK's economic health. We've just had an election. We've got a budget coming out this year. These types of announcements and things going on in our economy, they impact the strength of our currency. against different currency pairs. So wherever you are in the world today, have a look at that. Have a look at the economic indicators on both sides of the coin and do your research. Now, you don't have to be an expert by any means. You've got us, the likes of us and other companies out there, and you can subscribe to emails, updates, currency overviews. You can look on the internet. There's lots of information out there to give you some food for thought on that. One other thing I always touch on that people don't think about is repatriation planning. Now, once you've invested in your goods or services, you might need to repatriate funds. I often deal with companies who are expanding internationally. So they're setting up a shop in the US, for example. They don't have a lot of income on the ground, so they're starting to build up their revenue streams. And so in the interim, we're feeding a lot of money from the UK to fund their operations. Once they grow and become very successful, they start repatriating. So then we start looking at a repatriation plan. So that's a good plan to have for companies, but also if you're a property investor and your rental properties in the UK are starting to generate income for you and you need to start repatriating some of those funds, obviously it's your income, it's your livelihood, we can help you with a strategy to do that, and it's something to start thinking about now. So moving along, let's start thinking about the nuances of foreign exchange. We've touched on a few of these, but just be mindful. Exchange rates are very volatile. You need to be monitoring these. So if I gave you a quote today, that would be changed potentially in the next 5 minutes. So when you're doing your comparisons, just be mindful of the touch points through the day. Have a look at it, set those rate limit alerts. They'll be very good tools to help you. You also need to be mindful of your transaction costs and your timing. It's really hard to get this right. Let's face it, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what's around the corner, but we can mitigate some of these risks by taking advantage of the financial instruments available and the people around us. It does take a village. Never do this alone. And that's why you're working with Sail International, because they're the experts in helping hold your hand throughout this process. Be aware of your regulatory compliance requirements. Are there any controls in your geographical location? Are your currency pairs viable? Can you trade that currency? I've seen businesses start going into contracting with different countries around the world without even realizing they can't even trade the currency pair because it's a sanctioned country or there's regulatory requirements. So be mindful of that. Pick up the phone, ask us, we'll let you know. The counterparty risk part is trust the organizations that you're working with. The three things I ask myself: am I getting a good and reasonable cost for my service? Is my money safe? And can I actually make a phone call and speak to a person at the other end if I feel like things are going south? So they're the three things I ask myself personally when I'm going to work with a new company. But you need to make sure that whoever you choose to put your money with, they are financially stable, they are regulated, they're long-standing, and they're a reputable brand. I think that's probably one of the most important things. So these are some of the nuances to be mindful of. Hopefully they were helpful. And I'm just going to give a quick overview of my top 5 tips for managing your FX in a nutshell. So remember, plan ahead, lock in those rates, use the tools available for you. If you're a multiple currency trader, diversify your currency exposure. We can help you with some strategies on how to do this, and that allows you to spread your FX risk by dealing in multiple currencies. We touched on using hedging strategies. You can tap into those. They may or may not fit your risk model, and there's something we can delve in a little bit deeper. There's other things like natural hedging and other types of hedging instruments that we can teach you about as well that we haven't really touched on today. Monitor the market. You don't need to be looking at it every day. That's what we're here for. Just sign up for our newsletter. Just sign up for our daily updates on foreign exchange. Sign up for other updates elsewhere, but just keep ahead of it. Have a look what's happening. Track the rates and economic indicators, because that is going to help you inform your decision long term about when you buy and sell your currency. And last but not least, consult with the experts. And I think that's what you're chiming in for today, just to learn a little bit more, check out what's available to you. And I think that's the most important thing to do. You've got all of this free advice around you. Just tap into that. We're here to help. So hopefully that was helpful in terms of reaching your FX harmony. I'd now like to touch on what a client journey might look like. So if you are so comfortable with dealing with your bank at the moment, you might be a little bit worried about, well, if I go over to a different provider, what might that mean for me? So I'm going to give you a quick 101 on how we work with our clients. And it would be very not too dissimilar to how a lot of other organizations work as well, just to give you some food for thought there. So here at Currencies Direct in particular, we take a very consultative approach to how we work with our clients. First of all, we'd just like to have a welcome call with you, understand a bit more about what your plans are. What are your currency pairs? What's your budgeting? What's your timeline? What are some of the things you're concerned about? What are some of the things that what are some of the questions that you might have for us? So we spend a lot of time understanding how we can help you, or a little amount of time, depends on what your needs are. We'll take you through our products, our services. We'll tailor the solutions to suit your needs as well. And then we'll set up your account for you. Now, at the account opening phase, there's no obligation to use us as your trading partner, but by having an account, you can tap into all of our daily updates, yeah, rate limit alerts, keep you informed of the market, have an account service provider at your disposal, and a qualified and very experienced dealer to help you trade your account. Now, at this stage, when it comes time for you to exchange your currency, we'll actually walk you through your first transaction, make sure the pricing is transparent, you understand exactly what you're doing. So you are getting a really white glove service throughout the process. Then we always check in with you, we review progress, and we keep you informed about other solutions that may help you with your goals. So the client journey is very consultative. We hand hold you throughout the experience. We've got digital platforms that we can put you on to help you do it yourself. We'll show you how to do it. And we check in with you regularly to make sure that everything's okay. So this is what a typical client journey will look like. I hope that gives you some flavor in terms of how we would work with you. And also just to touch on some of our integrations that we have as well, and some of the enhancements that we've invested in as a company to make your life easier. Our ERP integration with Xero, what does that mean? Well, this in a nutshell allows you to, when you trade your currency, to feed that into your accounting software for real-time reconciliation. So we have our customer at the heart of everything we do, and we're investing in solutions like this to make your life easier, and obviously to make sales life easier as well in terms of helping you with your accounting at the other end. So hopefully that gives you a bit of insight into terms of how we're helping you, what our commitment is into supporting you. And overall today, I hope that you found the insights that I've shared beneficial. We've talked about understanding what foreign exchange is, the importance of forward planning. We also had a deep dive into some of FX risk exposure, top tips, nuances. We touched on considerations for people residing in South Africa and other geographical locations around the world. And we touched on some of the nuances around managing foreign exchange in your business and life, and some of my top tips as well. And we also shared our customer journey with you. So now I'd like to open up for a Q&A and any insights, thoughts, stories that you'd like to share with me. Thanks, Melissa.
Thanks, Katie. I think that was very interesting, and yeah, I think a lot of food for thought. So yeah, I don't see any questions in the chat. We'll wait another minute or so and see if anything comes through. Otherwise, I'll be sending Katie's details out with the recording, and you're welcome to get in touch with her or get in touch with us, and we can pass you on to Katie. And yeah, go from there. But thanks
Thank you,
again,
Melissa.
Katie.
Thank you. Absolute delight. I'm open for questions, and happy to give anyone who's chiming in today a full review on how we can help you.
Thanks, Katie. Yeah, I don't see any questions, so I think we'll end it for now and we'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.